Hold on, have I not been live this whole time? The button didn't press. What the hell? Usually when I press go live in OBS, it goes live on YouTube. I have no idea why it did not do that. Oh well. I've been chatting for the last like 5 minutes to nothing because apparently I'm not live. Now I am. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Sorry for the late start. That was weird. How is everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Let's see. Let me re-welcome everybody because I did welcome people, but again, I wasn't live, so nobody heard it. Nathan, what's up, my boy? What's up? How you doing? Well, time to shower before return to glorious overload. Hey, yes, indeed. Hope you got those wonderful locks all shampooed. Shampoo. James Knighton, Kiwi, Zianani, welcome, everybody. Calcul. How are you all? Dragonis, welcome. How's everybody doing? Hope you guys are doing great. I did already read some of your comments in the chat. Unfortunately, again, I thought it was live for the last 5 or so minutes. I was wrong. I was not live. That's unfortunate. But at least the chat box is working. I was wondering why the chat box wasn't popping up chats while I was chatting with you guys, but it turns out it's because I wasn't live. Genius. How's everybody doing? Sorry for the weird setup. It's kind of bland, I know. Just black background and my new webcam border that I made literally 5 minutes ago. I didn't have a lot of pre-prep time. I was hoping to put something in the background, but I neglected to put anything together. Sorry about that. So it's a little bit of a janky kind of Q&A today. Maybe in the future I can fix this view and make it actually look decent. But for now, yeah, you got the chat over here, and you got me and my webcam. So how's everybody doing? Yes, I should reread that comment from Zianani. Don't you really come back until you're ready, or I swear to something, I'll find you and hide your internet access. Don't worry, I'm not coming back before I'm ready. But I'm ready, for the most part. I'm not at 100% yet. COVID has been miserable. Very, very miserable. I haven't been doing amazing. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Nathan. Thank you. If this does anything to cheer you up, it's worth every penny. Glad to see you're back, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat, man. Yeah, by the way, I don't have my headphones set up for volume, so if there's a bit of an echo, I apologize for that. Oh god. Yeah, it's. Oh. Get well, sir. I'm getting well. I am improving. This is probably the best I've been in the last 13 or so days. Sure, it kicked my ass. It has kicked my ass very thoroughly. I know it's taboo to say this, but this is not the worst I have ever felt in terms of illness. I know a lot of people, how dare you say COVID is not the worst you've ever experienced. But in truth, this is not the worst I've ever felt. It's the longest. I'll give COVID that credit. It's the longest I've felt this miserable. But I think the strep throat flu combo I got a few years ago, which nearly killed me, that was way worse. It had similar symptoms, actually, weirdly enough, now that I think about it. But yeah. Hunty, Michael Shareha, how you guys doing? How you feeling now, man? I'm feeling better than I have. I'm still low energy, unfortunately. Still feel a little drained. But my cough is more or less completely gone. How's my appetite? My appetite is improved quite a bit. I can't taste anything at all. I can barely smell. So last night when I had enough energy, and I'm now no longer contagious, thankfully. Which, by the way, for those who want to know like the rules of how you know when you're contagious or not, it pretty much comes down to you have to have had the illness for 11 days. And you then need at least 24-hour period where you haven't had a fever. That's the WHO or the World Health Organization's official write-up of this is like when you know you are good with COVID and when you're not, to go out again and like live life. And I haven't had a fever in 3 or so days, and it's been over 13 days. So I'm no longer contagious. So thankfully I recovered just in time, or recovered enough just in time where I'm not contagious, so I could attend my sister's wedding yesterday. She's now happily married to her British husband, my brother-in-law. And I was happy I was able to attend without being a walking, talking petri dish of death. So I'm glad I recovered in time for that. But I'm still, unfortunately, COVID lingers a lot, and its symptoms don't go away for months. So the likeliness I'm going to get my taste buds back anytime soon is low, unfortunately. That's probably one of the slowest things most people say comes back. My sister, when she had COVID almost a year ago now, she didn't get her taste buds back for 2-3 months after she had it. So I have the misery of knowing I can't taste any food for a while. Thankfully, due to medication I got when I unfortunately had to go to the hospital during my COVID stint, they gave me some medication, and they did put me through a COVID test, which I thought was funny because it was on my. I went to the hospital on my 11th day with COVID, and I knew I had it because my dad was confirmed, and so was my mom. They both got the thing up the nose and confirmed, yep, they got it. And what are the odds I got something different magically, but yet somehow I had all the same symptoms? So I knew I had COVID. I didn't need to get tested to know it. But they still kind of have to test you when you go for any reason. And they tested me, and they said, oh yeah, by the way, they called me right after my visit at the hospital, and they said, which was funny, because my mom was in the middle of saying, they're gonna call you any minute. They're gonna call you any minute or any day now, and tell you, you're confirmed. I'm like, and as she said that, I got the call from the hospital, and they're like, yep, by the way, you're confirmed. You have COVID. I kind of figured. After 11 days of misery, I kind of guessed. I don't know how, it's... I must be hiding my medical professional license somewhere, because apparently you need that to confirm it. Yeah, but I guess I'm also confirmed if there was any doubt, which on my end there wasn't. You know that feeling, yeah. That's my appetite. Appetite's kind of... I can eat now. I just can't taste it, so... Depends on what you mean by appetite. Endwalker's just around the corner as well. Yep. And by the time Endwalker comes out, I'm hoping to at least have enough of my taste buds back where I can start testing out recipes in this book over here. Yeah, I've been meaning to try out some recipes in here. I really want to, and I'm so sad that I don't have my taste buds because there's so many cool recipes. There is. Most of them are actually just kind of real world stuff, and they just kind of put it in a recipe book. But some of the stuff actually, like popoto salad. That's just potato salad. But I've been reading through the FF cookbook, and honestly, there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. They got dango, they got chocobo cake, cheese souffle. Like I'm zipping through the desserts, but there's so many cool recipes in here I want to try out. I love cooking. Like it's a weird habit of mine, but I really enjoy cooking. And I really, really want to try out some of these recipes. The big thing I want to try out is this pizza recipe. I know that sounds strange because it's just pizza, and most people know how to make pizza. It's one of the most common foods to know how to make. But honestly, it reads different. They even have a crust recipe in here. They even have crust in there. So it's not just the pizza, it's also the crust. And they also have like tips and trips for like certain things you can mix in with the dough. Honestly, it's got 2 whole pages just dedicated to this like pizza recipe. So the recipes in here are really good. They got pork kakuni, rare roast beef, and again, it's kind of depressing and cheering me up a little bit that I got this. Like it does cheer me up I got it, because now I'm like, oh my god, there's so many foods I get to try when I get my taste buds back. but it arrived during a time where I don't have my taste buds, so it's all like teasing me. Oh, Senbiaku and Madao, how you doing? Hey, Billy Mount. Oh, yeah. It's been interesting. Hey, Marlena. Don't push yourself too hard. The fatigue can stick a long time. Fatigue does stick a long time. I've already been warned about that. Which is sad to me. Like, thankfully, you know, I'm at that stage where 13 days is long enough to kind of like mull about at home and not do anything. And I'm tired of just kind of sitting around. So by tomorrow, I'm hoping I'll have enough energy where I can stream, or at the very least record some videos. And that way, you know, the channel isn't gonna die. That's my big fear right now, is the channel's gonna die, because the algorithm's already probably buried me very thoroughly. It's one thing to not upload for a day, which is already a bad idea with YouTube, but gee. Oh, you're writing a book at the moment. Nice. Hope that's going smoothly. Remember, don't push yourself too hard on the book writing, because the inspirations of like your writing are gonna come in waves. They're not gonna come all at once, but when they come, ride that wave as long as you can. Get as many pages written out as you can, because the moment you hit that writer's block, it's like a smack in the face. Well, bam. Looks like a Napoleon pizza. It probably is. That's probably where the recipe is derived from. And let's see. Where's the table of contents? So, as they got it broken up in the cookbook, they got it broken down into breakfast, appetizers, breads. Yes, there's bread recipes, which I've looked through. There's bacon bread, cornbread, honey muffin, Ishgardian muffin, which is... it's still kind of a muffin, if I'm being honest. Yeah, you got knight's bread, which is cool. Walnut bread. What I find kind of like the flavor of it all is each of the like recipes in like the top part of like reading off like the actual information about the thing. Like for example, I just randomly flipped to walnut bread. It says regional cuisine, the Black Shroud. So like each and every recipe is like derived from a location. I found it interesting that the pizza recipe apparently is Novarant. I don't know why, I just didn't think of pizza as Novarant. I don't know what I thought it was. Like, there's no strictly Italian or... well, I guess pizza's an American invention, but still, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Is Novarant supposed to? And I never picked it up, but is it supposed to be kind of like the America? Yeah, deep fried Okeanos. That's Coerthus. Thanolin recipe, which is mole loaf. Yeah, that's says right in the corner there. Thanolin. I don't know if you can make it out. Yeah, there's just so many recipes I want to try out, but it'll be a while. Hey Josh. Hey Orus. Hey guys. How you doing? You guys doing well today? I got all the ice. Bacon pancake. Yummy. Really gross bread? Unfortunately, no. Pretty much everything in here looks like it's the tasty stuff. Hold on. If there was out of those breads, I would say the walnut bread, in my opinion, kind of looks like that bread that's depicted in the game. But that's... it doesn't say Charlian as its recipe origins, so I guess it's not it. There's lots of cool recipes. I think the thing I'm probably going to be able to enjoy is the drinks. There are drink recipes in there. Let me skip to that. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, there are drink recipes. Not all of them are alcoholic, before anyone just assumes. I've actually read through them. Only like 3 or 4 of the drinks recipes they have in here are like alcoholic. The rest are kind of like just sweet drinks. They don't have any kind of alcoholic mixes in there. We got Crimson Cider, Doman Tea. There's teas in here. Espresso con Panna, which is an espresso. They even have a high elixir recipe. Let me switch that. And they even show a photo, if I can zip to it. There you go. Yeah. Got like hot chocolate and high elixir in there. And they are very detailed recipes. Lemonade, Ishgardian tea, mold tea, matcha. Some of this stuff is clearly just like real world stuff that you can also find in the game. But, you know, some of it is very, very creative and interesting. We got warm wine with there are little artworks in this all over, where they creatively throw in characters that kind of fit in, like Dongo. If I randomly scrolled to it, has Tsuyu or Yotsuyu right there. I can find it. They even have mashed popotos, which is just mashed potatoes. I've read it. It is just mashed potato recipe. The one recipe in this that I absolutely will not make, and that's because it goes against everything I've been taught to do, is their deviled eggs. My family has a very specific recipe for our deviled eggs, and they add stuff to it that my family would kill me if I ever tried to add. So. Excuse me. Hey Horace Brittle, glad to see you. I'm looking well. I'm glad I'm doing better. The only thing holding me back right now from doing a full stream today is I'm still groggy. I don't know how much of that's from last night, just from the wedding party, because parties in general drain me, even if they're small parties, and we had a small party. I was really hoping enough of my taste buds would be active that when we went to the after party, we all went to a restaurant together, that I would taste it. Thankfully, I did taste some of the food, because where we went has a lot of spices and a lot of salt, so a little of that got past the lack of taste buds. But unfortunately, the vast majority of what I ate, which I can't eat very much, that's another thing, is I'm not just recovering my taste buds and my smell, I'm also trying to get my appetite back. I lost, to give you guys an idea, during COVID, at the start of COVID, I weighed 246 pounds, roughly. And over the course of COVID, I lost almost 30 pounds. And that is not natural. In 13 days, to go from 245 pounds to nearly 215, it's not healthy. I have some excess skin and weight. I unfortunately lost that weight due to malnutrition. So, if anyone knows anything about dieting, you know that the worst way to lose weight is rapidly. And rapidly in the sense of like binging and purging, which I wasn't doing. My body was doing it for me. Yeah, I lost a lot of weight. I guess you would call it unnaturally. And my body, it unfortunately has suffered a lot of consequences due to that. Because of all the rapid weight loss. It's caused a lot of medical issues, like moving around. I'm very, very lethargic. Like, if I'm sitting down, I have plenty of energy for the most part. And I feel fine for the most part when I'm sitting down. It's just, I'm still lethargic, but moving around, my body's not used to the complete lack of energy it's got to derive from. And unfortunately, even if I try and maintain my low weight and just slowly eat like smaller portions and healthier foods as I go back into eating food again, unfortunately, I'm still going to gain a good chunk of that 30 pounds I lost. Because, unfortunately, when you lose weight by purging and losing the food, your body's not actually losing weight. It's more of malnutrition, and your body needs some of that weight back, because weight loss is supposed to be a slow and gradual process, because your body needs time to get used to basically running off of less calories and less energy in your body. when you rapidly lose all that weight, your body has no time at all to acclimate to the lower weight. And hell, by the time I get my appetite back, I'm going to gain at least 25 to 30 of the... I'm pretty much going to gain all of it back, even if I don't want to. So it's not... Unfortunately, it's not like, yeah, I lost weight due to an unfortunate reason, but yeah, I lost weight, and I can't even be excited about it, because unfortunately, all that weight needs to come back, or I'm not going to be very healthy. So I need to gain weight again, and it's not an exciting prospect, but my body needs some of the weight back, and I can get back to losing weight after my body is actually running properly. But for right now, it's just... at least I can say at one point, in my adult life, I have weighed almost 200 pounds as opposed to 245. But I'd rather get that weight back and be not lethargic and not completely drained and unhealthy. Which feels weird again to say. Like, it feels weird to say, like, I've lost weight, but I'm unhealthy because of it. But yeah. Prima Facie, what's up? How you doing? Am I doing well? You're lethargic when you're not sick? I'm lethargic when I am sick. Usually I have more energy. Eyes elixir with suspiciousness. Blue milk? No. The elixir, from what I can tell, is an alcoholic drink. Yeah, I eyeballed it. It might have 2 burgeoning recipes on it. I haven't read every single recipe in the book yet that thoroughly. I might do a couple videos. I don't know if that's something if I don't know. A, I don't know if it's something people want, and B, I don't know if it's something Square Enix will allow. I don't know if they can DMCA a video if, like, I make a cooking video and I do one of the recipes in the book. I don't know. I certainly don't want to test that waters. I don't want to get in trouble for cooking one of the recipes in the book. I don't know if they're that bad. Like, I've never been in that position where it's like, I bought a cookbook, which is supposed to be a collector's item, from a company, but what happens if I, like, share some of the recipes via videos to the point where I'm showing how to make the stuff? Will that get me in trouble? Can I get in trouble with that? I don't know. Like, I don't think they can. I purchased the book, and it's not like I ripped the recipes off of our website or something. I don't know. I've never tested that waters. I don't know if I want to. Plus, I don't know if I have the film equipment to film myself cooking this stuff properly. So, I don't know. That's the thought that came to mind when the book arrived. Perhaps a cooking show with Asmogan. Cooking up some cool recipes. At the very least, I can certainly do cocktails. The very few cocktails that are in the book. Okay, you're doing it in chunks. Yeah. You'd watch a Asmo cooking vid. I'm glad you'd watch it. Somebody should. Anyway, enough about COVID. COVID is over and done with. Well, it's not, unfortunately, but it's the worst of it. Unless you guys have specific questions about it, I'd say, like, we could just move on to the Q&A portion. You guys got any questions, concerns, issues? I'm not surprised by that at all. I'm sure people have scanned the entire copies of the encyclopedia. But I don't think Square Enix wants people to do that, because it is a purchasable item on this shop. Hey, Sil. Guten Abend. Are we doing good? I am doing better. I'll put it like that. I am doing much better than I have been the last 13 or so days. Now it's cooking with hi y'all. Trying to get every little last bit of water out of here. I also have some Powerade, but can't taste it. It's mostly for the electrolytes. I have been I have been hopeful that were you vaxxed? No. I am now. But I wasn't. I was not vaccinated. I'm gonna leave it at that because I'm not gonna get into a conversation about vaccination or not. Certain people have problems with it, certain people don't. All I'll say is my apprehension with getting vaccinated was simply that I didn't need to. I work at home, so I wasn't worried about getting other people sick if I got it. And turns out my family got it and got me sick. So that was the extent of my worry. If I had gotten hired back at like let's say the Navy, like I have applied to them again. If I were to get hired back there, of course I would have gotten the vaccine before going. Not only is it required, but also for the safety aspect. Like but while I was working at home, when I'm not surrounded by people, and not worried about passing along anything, and also not worried about contracting it really, I just didn't see a point in going to get vaccinated, especially since the nearest clinics are like 40 minutes away, and I'm more likely to get COVID going to get a vaccine than I was just staying and doing my job at home. But I got it while I was getting checked out about my stomach. They offered it just part of while I was there, and I said, "Yep, shoot me up, stab me." So I am vaccinated now. But was I vaxxed before I got sick? No. And they say the vaccine's supposed to help with the symptoms, but I got it so late I can't attest to that or not. Like I got it on my 11th day with COVID, so I haven't noticed a difference other than a gradual, drop off of symptoms, but that was coming anyway. So I don't know how much of that's vaccine, how much of that is just my body is already acclimated to fighting COVID. I already have the antibodies, so the vaccine was more or less just kind of a drop in the bucket. I still planning on doing Endwalker launch. Yes, I am still planning on doing Endwalker launch. Because if I'm not better by the time, lethargic wise, energy levels wise, if I'm not better by the time Endwalker comes out, that's a really bad sign. But I think I'll have plenty of energy by then. So yeah, I'm still doing Endwalker launch. It's not that far away, but I've had plenty of time to recover. It hurts? Yeah. Shots in general hurt. And they're stabbing you. And putting something into your veins that was not there before. So your body's automatically like, this is different. Looking at aesthetics during birth. You asked for it, too late. Enjoy the pain. You're gonna order say night and old times, eh, guys? Yes, old times. And some of us are still on the old Discord. Can't wait for Endwalker. I can't wait either. It's just around the corner though. That's like the weird thing. It's only a couple days away. I have the days right. Yeah, because I pre-ordered it, so I get early access, even though 90% of the player base pre-ordered it. So the early access date is just access date for everybody. So really, that's the real launch, is the quote-unquote early access day. Oh, the queues are gonna be bad. They're gonna be bad. Now, some people are just gonna log in like a week before and are just gonna keep like pressing like the pause button, or kept pressing the space bar, just jump. It's like, I will not be logged out. I will remain in the game until it launches. Until maintenance comes around, then they forcibly got to get logged off. But more than a couple days, it's more or less a couple days. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, especially wait time, that's not very far away. Yeah, it's less than a week. So, oh man. It's so close, yet so far. I'm sure the day before is going to be interesting. I won't be able to play, but watching others is fun too. Why won't you be able to play? Did you not be able to buy it, or did you not pre-order it in time? Oh, my parents' health. My parents are both fully recovered. My dad's back at work. He's got most of his taste buds back already, so I'm kind of jealous. But both my parents are fine. My mom recovered the fastest out of everybody. She had COVID. She probably had the weakest case of COVID in the house. She recovered in record time. Like, she got it, was bedridden for 3 days, and then just started doing activities around the kitchen and in the house, small stuff at first, and by the 4th day, and day 5, she was getting her taste buds back. In terms of recovery, she's pretty much fully recovered. She had a very mild case. She's already got her taste buds and her sense of smell completely back, and she's not lethargic at all. So, compared to me and Dad, she took it like a champ. She recovered really fast. And the doctor, when she went and got, like, tested to double check that she had COVID, told her she had a mild case by her own description. So, I mean, that's a good thing. My mom had a very mild case. Me and my dad, we had, I guess, I don't know if it's severe or average cases. My malnutrition and my weight loss is definitely not normal, but outside of my dietary tract issues with COVID, I had, I want to say, a fairly normal case. I was bedridden quite a bit. The only time I got up was to vomit, which I'm sure you guys want to hear so much about. But yeah, mom just zipped right through it. She's been running around the house today, keeping busy. And I've been doing the dishes and stuff like that since I gotten out of bed. And again, I'm out of the worst stages, so I'm more or less back to my normal schedule. The only thing that's not normal is what I'm eating right now. I'm just eating what will fill my stomach. But again, my appetite's very low. I don't have much of one right now. But that's gonna again be a slow recovery. Part of my lack of appetite is the fact that I can't taste anything. When you can't taste things you don't want to eat, that takes out kind of the enjoyment of food. But when my appetite fully comes back is going to be around the same time when my taste buds fully return. Which could be a month, could be 3 weeks, could be just a week. There's no way to predict it. It's just different for everybody. Oh, you have no internet. Oh, that's why. Damn. Hopefully you get internet soon. An algorithm idea. What if we all just started commenting on your old videos up until now to boost you a little? It might help. I don't know if it will. I know that any engagement helps not only the video in question, but helps the channel. I'm not going to ask you guys to do that. If you guys want to watch some of my old content because you're just curious, or you're actually just rewatching an old video of mine that you like, and you want to leave a like, comment, anything like that you didn't before, by all means. But I don't require none of that. It's you guys watch what you want to watch when you have the time to watch it. And I'm not going to ever, like, mandate it. I'm also not going to, like, beg for that. I'm not DSP. Like, it's my job to make the content so that the people will come. You make the content, the people will come. And I have not made the content, that's all. So, I just got to get back to making content, got back to streaming, back to making videos, and hopefully start getting the algorithm to like me again, which will be interesting. The Cowboy Bebop on Netflix. I haven't watched it. I'm not going to. It's a live action adaptation of an anime. Rule number 1: those always suck. Period. Like, that's the bottom line. The only reason you would watch a live action adaptation of an anime is to see how bad they fucked it up. It's not a question of, oh, did it come out good? Was it nice? No, it's a question of how bad it came out. And for me, I have a lot of other things I'd rather watch than fucking watch Cowboy Bebop. The actual anime, that's not a waste of time at all. That's a good use of my time. but not the rest. Archimagos Reductor Sethir comes in, does engagement noises, steals all the nuts, and squirrels out of the window. Don't forget your toaster. You don't want to have another lonely night. Grab the toaster. Archimagos. Magos. God, still can't pronounce it right. Death Note movie from Japan wasn't terrible. I didn't like it. Rurouni Kenshin live action was pretty good. Just watch Rurouni Kenshin. It's one of those things where it's about watching how bad they fucked it up. That's what it is for me. Is it a brave little toaster? And it has to be. If a Magos gets his hands on it, the Mechanicus love their toasters. Toaster humping noises in the background. It's a 40k joke. I don't know if you'll get it, Zianani. The Death Note Netflix was the worst movie next to Aragon. It was pretty bad. The ending was like, for me, I watched it and I was like, you got Willem Dafoe. Like, that's one reason I will say to watch that outside of just to see how bad it is they got Willem Dafoe to play Ryuk. So, that's a dream come true. Unfortunately, it was in that horrible movie. But they got Willem Dafoe. That impressed me. There was literally no one else I could ever picture playing Ryuk. And I'm glad they did it. But unfortunately, with how little he was in the movie, it didn't really fucking matter. But they got Willem Dafoe. Does chocolate or Coca-Cola taste like trash now after COVID? I don't know. Coca-Cola? Oh, Coca-Cola. I don't know why I was reading that wrong. Because you put a C, not a K. I don't know. I haven't drank any Coke. The first bit of soda I've had in the last 13 days. I know there's a Mountain Dew box like right there, but that's been there. Another thing about being sick is you don't have time to clean up. So it's part of there's a little bit of a mess behind me that I haven't been able to clean up. Most of it's cardboard. That being said, the first bit of soda I had was last night during the wedding after party. Just because they had some sparkling cider and some Sprite and stuff. So I was like, I'll have a Sprite. Very light soda. So that's the most I've had for that in a while. I don't know about Coca-Cola. I haven't tasted it. I haven't tried to drink it. Same with any other. And the Sprite I had, I could feel the bubbles. It was more like sparkling water than it was Sprite to me. I couldn't taste the Sprite. Again, you really have no sense of smell or taste. And you can breathe in your nose. Like, I can breathe in my nose. So I can do the action of sniffing, but I can't smell anything. Like, there's nothing. It's just oxygen coming in and out. And same with taste. Like, I could put a soiree of soup in front of me. I wouldn't be able to taste the difference in the broth. The texture, yeah, I can tell you the texture difference, but not the taste. Again, for me, the worst part of recovery is getting my taste buds back. Because without being able to taste anything, you don't have any desire to eat food. And without any desire to eat food, I can't keep my nutrition back up. And that's what I desperately need to get back up. So I have to force myself to eat food that I know I can't taste. William Defoe. It's Willem Dafoe. What about Pepsi? I haven't had Pepsi either. Pretty much nothing except for that one Sprite I had last night. And I couldn't taste it. They're making a Willow TV series? I disapprove. Heavily. I heavily disapprove. Willow is a good movie. Watch the movie. The movie was great. A TV show? Well, to be fair, there's plenty with that they can do. Like, Willow was such a good movie, and it set up a really nice, like, universe. Like, set up a nice fantasy world. So, I won't write it off completely. I'd have to see or hear more about it. But, I don't know. without Warwick Davis, or like who are they casting? Are they casting Willow, or is this supposed to be like before Willow or way after Willow? The character is gone. Like I don't know. I don't know any details. That would a lot of that would depend. But they could very easily fuck it up because, you know, modern Hollywood and their desire to politicize everything. So that could ruin it potentially. But as long as they stick to like the fantasy world and in world, I guess in world politics and factions, and if they my one fear I will say about a Willow show is the idea that they're gonna go Game of Thrones with it. Like, I know that's what they're trying to do with Lord of the Rings, which already pisses me off. But can you imagine that? Like, taking Willow, the world of Willow, expanding into a show, and then trying to go all Game of Thrones with it? Like, there is already an element of that. Like, from the movie, there was an element of, like, the whole, like, competing for the throne, and this child will take... The child must be protected because it'll rule, and there's the evil witch, But, I don't know, like, for me, that was a very succinct story. Like, the original Willow was a very succinct story. So I'm struggling to see what they're going to do with a show other than make another Game of Thrones ripoff. And I really hope that's not what they intend to do. I don't want to write off every single Hollywood project that comes up, but it's just my faith in Western entertainment is very, very, very low. So I have not a lot of faith that they'll make a good Willow movie. For the next Spider-Man, I'm actually excited for the next Spider-Man, actually. I'm interested, I think everyone is, especially if you were a fan of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Like, I grew up with the Sam Raimi movies. So I love those ones, and the idea that they're bringing back Tobey Maguire, which they have to make some kind of reference to at least the bad boy Tobey Maguire meme. Like, they gotta reference that somehow. Don't ask me how they do it, but they gotta reference it. They can't ignore it. It's just a requirement. It's the new Game of Thrones, as they said. What? Willow? Or Lord of the Rings? Considers the worst thing about COVID is the lack of taste when it's Mountain Dew addiction. It's not even really Mountain Dew. I'd love to just taste normal food. Again, like, it's hard to explain if you just don't have your taste buds. Imagine you can't taste anything. Like, you can't, like, you cook up some chicken, you feel like the stringiness of the meat, and you know, if it's like fried chicken, like the crunch of the crust around it. Like, you feel the texture and the crunch and the sliminess of the meat and some of the grease if it was fried, things like that. Like, you get everything except the flavor. Like, you don't taste it. Like, it's just that texture of that chicken, that stringy meat in your mouth, and the crunch of the bread, of the crust, or stuff like that. Like, but no flavor, no taste. Like, you cannot taste it. It's horrible. Like, because you're just like, you sit there, you eat, you look at the food that you're so used to eating with a flavor, and even if you drown the thing in like barbecue sauce or drown in ketchup or whatever, you can't taste it. Like, if you're lucky, you'll get a little bit of the tang from, like, some hot sauce. God, I just miss my taste buds. And I never thought I'd say that so fervently, but I miss my taste buds. Oh. Will it also die burning and crashing? Probably. Game of Thrones itself couldn't survive itself. I doubt a ripoff will. The Lord of the Mixed Races. I had it even before anybody tested for it. No taste for weeks, tired for months. I know, right? It's exhausting. Just eat hot dogs. Plain old hot dogs. I pretty much am. It's actually what I had for lunch today. Was just, I cooked up some hot dogs and I tried dipping them in barbecue sauce or something for flavor, and actually by the end of it, I coated the last hot dog in hot sauce. I hate hot sauce. I do, but I can't taste anything else. That's the thing. I never thought I'd see the day where I'd be drowning a hot dog in hot sauce and just so I could taste the damn thing. But it worked. I could taste it, just mildly. And then I felt the hot sauce on my tongue. I still feel the hot sauce a little bit on my tongue. That's why I drank all my water so quickly before we started. Isn't there a Hobbit show in the works? Not that I'm aware of. I'm just aware of the Silmarillion-based show that's coming out. And, even on that one, I'm not, like, not very excited for it. I hope your taste buds come back all at once, so just sometime you get up and taste breakfast. I would like it to work like that, but it's going to be very gradual. Like, I'm slowly going to start tasting things, and by the time my taste buds fully come back, I probably won't realize it. It's going to be that gradual and slow, is how I've heard it basically works. You haven't had a hot dog in years? Really? They're a very common barbecue item around here. Granted, we haven't had a barbecue in a while, but I have hot dogs all the time. It's a very quick dose of protein. Can't speak for smell since I did not smell anything for almost 20. Is that years? Can you, wait, do you not have a sense of smell? Damn. Maori hobbits. Yeah, I did hear about that. Maori hobbits. It's the short. What's the, how can that be a hobbit? I'm sorry, but the Maori people are tall. Like, they're very tall. Gonna be a tall. The shortest Maori hobbit's got to be like 6 foot. like I don't think that's like questionable to say. Like, the Maori people are tall. That is very common knowledge about the Maori people. So I find it weird that there's a hobbit one. I don't know. That's interesting. I'm not saying they can't be hobbits. Like, if we're talking about like little people. Of course they can be, but I don't know, like, commonly Maori people are really tall, unless I'm missing something. Can't stand hot dogs, which is too bad. Really? It is, because they're a very easy food, and they're easy on the stomach, they're easy to eat, and they're quick, most of the time. And I try to avoid microwaving them, if I can. Usually I put them in the oven, grill them, boil them. If I can't grill, which unfortunately sometimes I can't. There were no hobbits in the Second Age. I would not know very well about that. That's more, for those who are on the old Discord, that's Pyrrhus. He's the bigger Tolkien fan. I have not read the Silmarillion. I started reading it at one point, but I've never read the Silmarillion through and through, so I don't know about the First Age, the Second Age. I know about the Third Age, yeah, most people do. Because that's where the actual Lord of the Rings story kind of takes place. That's the Third Age. But the Second Age and the First Age, I know very little. I know a lot more than I did a year ago, because just talking to Pyrrhus, but outside of picking up his secondhand knowledge of his obsession with the Silmarillion and the books, what I've picked up on it, chili cheese dog best. Chili dogs can be really good. Actually, there was I think the most delicious hot dog I ever had was at a baseball game. Not a big one, not like the Boston Red Sox or anything like that. But at a smaller scale one, there was this family that had like a food truck, and they were making a special kind of dog. Apparently, it was their special like mix. It was bun, hot dog, and then they put bacon bits in there, and then on top of the bacon bits, they put sloppy Joe meat. With the sloppy Joe sauce, and then they put then they topped it all off with like a couple dashes of hot sauce and cheese on top of that. And I can't remember what they called it, but it was very, very good. The hot sauce was not too overpowering, and it actually kind of complemented the sloppy Joe meat on there. It was actually a really good hot dog. It was a really good hot dog. The best like reoccurring hot dog I've ever had though has to be Five Guys. I don't know if you guys know that restaurant. Some of you probably live in areas where that doesn't exist. But Five Guys is a restaurant here in the United States, and it's on the East Coast. It's also on the West Coast. but it's really popular around here. And the hot dogs that they make, like, they don't even use like a standard like hot dog, like, I don't know, Frank's at the Frank's hot dogs, which is a brand. Like, they use a special kind of like sausage, which tastes on its own like delicious, and then they put like a drizzle of barbecue sauce and bacon bits. Like, that's what I order. That is the most consistently like delicious, which it's depressing me to describe it because I really want one, but I can't taste it. So even if I got one right in front of me right now, I'd bite into it and I would just cry with the tears of the loss that I can't taste my favorite hot dog. It's like, no. I see it. I'm holding it. I feel the warmth. I know how it's supposed to taste. But my tongue is like, no. Damn it. Oh. Both sad and it's something to look forward to. I'm gonna force somebody to take me to Five Guys when I get my taste buds back. Just drive right there, and I'm gonna order like 5 of them. And the guys they're gonna look at me like I'm insane. It's like, you do realize one of these dogs can completely fill you, right? I'm like, I'll take 5. I twitch. I just realized we got into a conversation talking about hot dogs, and I'm not at all apologetic about it. Not just hot dogs. Do you like corn dogs? Yeah, corn dogs are great. Who doesn't like a corn dog? It's great. We have one nearby. Yes, they're delicious. Oh, they make the best burgers and the best hot dogs. It's sad that the nearest one to me is like, give or take, 40 minutes away. Upside and downside with living in the woods. Upside. People leave you alone because you don't have a lot of nearby neighbors, and most of your neighbors keep to themselves. Unless there's like a storm or something, they really want to check on you. And even then, it's like a 10-minute walk to your house from theirs, so they got to be absolutely certain that they want to check in on you. But you live secluded. Nice. If you have animals like we do, and meat animals like pigs and stuff, you can be pretty self-sufficient, especially if you know how to butcher and cook them, like we do. And we also hunt. But downside, all the good shit is 40 plus minutes away. It's a bit of a drive. And the grocery store is closer. We have a grocery store in nearby town, which is closest to like civilization. But outside of that, like 15-20 minute drive, everything worth going to is 40 minutes away. Up there's wolves. No, we don't get a lot of wolves. We get a lot of coyotes, though. And bears. Bears, coyotes, foxes, raccoons, fishers. Oh, fishers are the worst. Entire chicken coops just slaughtered by one really angry fisher, who only takes one of them away. He just kills the rest of them for good measure. I don't know why. I hate fishers. And they're vengeful little fuckers. If you, like, trap them and they get away, they will hide under your deck and attack you the next time you come out of your house. They're vengeful little fuckers. Those who don't know what a fisher is, it's a weasel. It basically looks like a really big ferret. And they're very vicious, very violent, and they do get vengeance. They're not nice. So if you catch one, kill it. Don't be like, oh, I'll let it off into the middle of the woods and it'll not come back. It'll follow you home. Wait under your deck all night. No food, just wait patiently. If a cat goes out, it'll kill the cat, or a small dog. It'll kill a small dog. But what it's waiting for is you, and it'll attack you and rip up your fucking leg. I've seen it happen. I've had it done to me. Kill them. Rule number 1. Raccoons are nicer. Season 3, yeah. Ember Island Players, fun episode. Yes, and probably the best like series recap ever in a show that I can think of off the top of my head is Avatar: Last Airbender's Ember Island Players. Yeah, that was such a great like recap of the show, and it did it in a way that wasn't like what other shows do, where they just show you basically a slideshow of like moments. They literally just played it all out, and the best part is the commentary from the characters. We actually got their like commentary about what they've been through, and also the terrible, you know, actors. If it bleeds, kill it. I thought the quote was, "If it bleeds, it can be killed." Isn't that from Predator? If it bleeds, it means we can kill it. Rule number 1 of nature: fucking win, then eat the loser. It's definitely the Predator rule. Toph laughing her guts out was funny. Yes. She was the only one who enjoyed it. That's because she was portrayed as just this big, giant, buff dude. She's like, yep, this fits me. I've heard about the Netflix making that. Yeah, I know about that. And I'm not going to watch it. I don't recommend anyone do. Like, even if it's good, I recommend people don't watch it. And it's just them redoing the show again. Like, I'm sorry, just watch the show. Like, doesn't Netflix have Avatar: Last Airbender on it? I don't know. I'm not on Netflix. I don't watch Netflix. But don't they have Avatar on Netflix streaming? Like the actual cartoon? I don't know why Hollywood is, and Netflix apparently, are so devoid of any creative ideas. They're like, you know, a show we actually have on our streaming service? Yeah, let's make a live action one of it. Why? Why is money, acting, and budget being wasted on this? Out of curiosity. Oh, for the niche of live action. Because that always works out. Batman Crispy, what's up? I hope you're feeling a lot better. I am feeling infinitely better than I had been just a few days ago. I mean, COVID kicked my ass. Pretty much every way to Sunday. It kicked my ass. But, I'm on the slow recovery. Hey, Tail Crate. Got any models painted or printed? Not really. I mean, when I've been sick, I've been very immobile. I spent most of it being in bed. But if you mean before that, I'm still working on a few. And I got a few of these guys, but before I was sick, I was working on these guys, so unfortunately, not too much in that category. I got plenty I gotta paint. The monkeys around my area are really annoying. Do you have howlers? We don't have any monkeys around here, but I'm just curious. When my family took a trip to Belize, they had to deal with howler monkeys. They're very loud. We also had to deal with those smaller monkeys. I don't know what they're called, but they're like this fucking big. And they would jump on the boat, and they would just like be checking our bags for food. And I'm not even like a cartoon, like with their heads like in the bag. And I'm just like, kind of want to pet it, but I think at the same time it's a bad idea. Like I remember my mom had to like catch stuff from falling out of the boat. Because the monkey was just, and mom was like, I got a banana for you here. And then he sees it and he's like, oh, just grabs it. He was cute, but flying shit out of her bag. Monkeys are annoying, and yeah, they're kind of like the comedians of nature. Kind of. It's not universal rule. Sometimes they're pretty scary. Depends on the monkey. Okay, so they run on the roof. Yeah, we got that problem with some big birds around here. You would be happier with apps like Netflix if they had the Saturday morning. They have some of them. I don't know what Netflix has. I know Hulu has Ben 10. And if you get the really expensive like live TV package, you can get like a lot of the other shows. One weird thing I find about a lot of the Now, you guys may not know this about me. Some older of, I guess, my fan base might know this about me. I was a huge Power Ranger nerd as a kid. Like, huge. Oh my god. I was such a huge Power Ranger nerd. I still love the theme song for Dino Thunder. Because that's the ones I grew up with. Ninja Storm is the one I grew up with my sister. Like, we both watched that Power Rangers, and she loved it. I loved it. Obviously, she got older and stopped watching those kinds of shows. But I was still a little kid, so for me, I watched Ninja Storm with her, and then I also watched Power Rangers Dino Thunder on my own, and then like 1 or 2 more after that as I got older, and then I dropped it off around like when I hit 14 or so. But I grew up with several different incarnations of Power Rangers, and for me, I had Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, which is still my favorite theme song, if nothing else. Not to mention the storylines were actually really fun, and the aesthetic of those Rangers was the best. Oh god, I loved the Power Rangers growing up. And the thing is, when I looked up Super Sentai, which is the series that they get the combat footage from, honestly, I was kind of blown away that the plots in some of those were pretty similar to the Western adaptation. So they didn't even really, even though they went to the trouble of like reshooting so much with the Power Rangers here in the West with Saban's stuff to work with the Japanese Super Sentai footage, the plot lines and some of the storylines are virtually the same. So I was like, why didn't they just translate Super Sentai? But then, if you think about it, unfortunately, there was that thing where a lot of audiences don't like watching like the mouth move, but the words are dubbed over. Like, it works for cartoons, because cartoons, the mouth is just doing this. It's just opening and closing, might do the occasional inflection. But with cartoons, you can get away with dubbing much easier, and it doesn't look out of place. But with live action, it's very clear they're not saying the words that you're hearing. So that bothers people a lot. It bothers me. So to be honest, that's probably a big reason why Super Sentai wasn't just translated. But yeah, I grew up with Power Rangers. I don't know why. How did this conversation start? I don't know. I know that there was a reason I brought up Power Rangers, but oh yeah, Netflix and stuff. I know that at one point Netflix had like all the Power Rangers series. I know now they don't for some reason. And Hulu has some, but again, most of the kids' Saturday morning cartoon shows, unfortunately, through Hulu, you have to get to the $65 package thing, which sucks. But yeah, Power Rangers was a big show I grew up with. So was a lot. I grew up with a lot of good shows. I think I had people in my exact like generation grew up with the best shows. Like, I had Ben 10, I had Generator Rex, I had, obviously the sequel series of Alien Force and for Ben 10, Power Rangers, several series of Power Rangers, and I grew up Teen Titans, Avatar: Last Airbender, Gargoyles, although that was on VHS, Street Sharks, again VHS, there's a lot of shows I grew up with. I don't know. I'd probably spend all day trying to list off all the shows I grew up with for like cartoons and stuff like that. A lot of Toonami stuff as well. When Toonami was around. I don't know if it is. I think they brought it back, but I don't know. Biker Mice from Mars. I never watched Biker Mice from Mars. That's one I missed out on. Street Sharks was a lot of fun though. Oh yeah, TMNT, the 2003 series. Oh, still stand by. It's the best incarnation of the Turtles of all time. Because I'm including all the seasons and a couple of the movies, but that's the other than the live action TMNT movie, the only other incarnation of TMNT that deserves the name for me is the 2003 series. Oh god, like. I still remember the original theme song. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was the most badass show. And also, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. If you didn't grow up with that like I did, you missed out. Like, that show was great. And if you like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at all, that was the perfected incarnation of the Turtles. I know a lot of people like stand by like the 90s show that was the cartoon. but I didn't grow up with that. And the reruns of that I've seen, I'm like, this is campy shit. It's very campy shit compared. Like, it feels weird to say that because I'm not saying the 2003 TMNT cartoon wasn't campy. It did. It had its camp, but comparatively, it was far more adult. If Gargoyles ever gets a reboot or live action, no. It's time to kill someone. Yeah, like no, I wouldn't. No. You can't beat that. Keith David. No. Gargoyles was amazing. Fucking badass. Still one of the best shows ever. I mean, no. Actually, there was one other show I grew up with that's worth mentioning off the top of my head. I don't know why I always like remember it off of Gargoyles, but the animated Tales from the Crypt. Oh, Nathan, thank you for the super chat, man. Thank you. Did you play the 2003 TMNT Brawler game? It's great. Yes, I did. It was very good. It was very fun. Yeah, I agree with that. That was fun.
More gil for the cause.
Excuse me. Yeah, I did play that game. That was a lot of fun. I also played, there was another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles brawler game. I played 3 different TMNT games. One of them was the one based off that movie, the CG movie. Which I actually enjoyed the CG movie, but I got the sense that a lot of people didn't like it because if you didn't watch the TMNT 2003 series, which I think is what it's, like, builds off of, you didn't get it. Like, it didn't resonate with you. Alright, have a good one, Sil. Thank you for hopping in and checking in. Hope you have a good afternoon. Enjoy dinner. Live action remakes? I mean, Disney's live action remakes are, if I'm being generous, hit and miss. Widely speaking, they're very hit and miss. Like, extremely so. For me, none of them have been better than the originals. I would say at best, they are good if they're more or less copying them. Like, that's the biggest compliment I have to Disney. I would say there's one that pissed me off. There is one Disney remake, live action remake of their old cartoons that pissed me off, and that would probably be Dumbo. Because of who sings the song. Because in the original story, yes, it's a cartoon. Yes, the animals sing. Yes, in live action, it looks weird if the animals sing. I don't care. It was a part of the plot. But that song, I can't remember how it goes, nor could I do it justice if I did. But that there's this song that is sung by Dumbo's mom. I know one of the lines is "Don't you cry," and it's a very maternal song. It really sells that connection Dumbo had with his mom and why he goes to such lengths to try and get famous in the circus and hopefully reunite with her. That's such a huge plot point in the original Dumbo. And in the live-action remake they came out with recently, first of all, the animals don't sing. The connection with Dumbo's mom is not established anywhere near as much as it is in the cartoon, because the animals don't talk. And the song is just kind of thrown in there as being sung by a carny, by one of the carny ladies. Which, she sang it well, that's the thing, the song was sung well, but they just threw it in there. Its significance and its impact with Dumbo's mom in particular isn't there. It's just thrown in, and honestly, that was insulting to me. Like, I remember growing up watching Dumbo, and that connection with Dumbo's mom is not too different from my own mom. Like, that used to get to my feelings listening to that song. My mom can sing it, and she has, and for me, no. You completely rewrite the core of why that song is in there when you just hand wave it away and give it to a random carny who sings it. And the whole plot was more about the human kids that, honestly, you don't feel anywhere near as bad about as you do Dumbo in the original story. Because first of all, they're not being mistreated. They got a dad who cares for them and is putting time with them. Honestly, like the whole impact of the story and what made Dumbo Dumbo was completely written out of Dumbo, which was stupid. So I hate that movie. Or I hate the live action Dumbo a lot. But the rest of them, it's hit and miss. Some of them have good songs. Some of them just more or less copy-paste exactly what the cartoon did. So that's why they're likable, is they just redid it. Yeah, honestly, I can't think of any of the live actions that stand out as good. Like, none of them I would give a thumbs up. I would be like, participation award. You grabbed the script of the old one. Bam. There's our script for the new one. Woo! Yay! And some of them are animated so much, like Beauty and the Beast, that live action remake. So much of that was CG animated. I'm still looking back like, why was this live action? Most of the characters that we give a shit about are animated. It's still animated. And then Lion King. Lion King's a better example of that. Well, this is live action. Because it's CG and you made them look like real lions? That only hurt the film. Because there's no emotion, there's no expression in any of the characters in the Lion King remake. And the fact that they called that live action is still such bullshit. What was live action about it? What, they went to Africa and they filmed the safari and then they animated everything in there? Is that what was live action? Even then, some of the scenery is clearly animated. Live action my ass. There's no way you can make a live action Lion King. It doesn't work. The Jungle Book live action? The Jungle Book live action I thought had, out of all the remakes, had the spirit of the original on display, I thought. Like, with the side characters in particular, and the animals, and how they interacted with Mowgli. That one, for me, had the most of the spirit of the original, but it still brought up the question, why watch this when I can watch the original? Even Disney doesn't know the answer to that question. Chose not to see the Mulan remake. I also chose not to watch it. The most recent remake I did sit through was the... well, it wasn't a remake. It was... Well, depends on who you ask. The origin movie of... Cruella de Vil. The movie Cruella. I did watch that. And, my big thing with that film is I enjoyed part of the film. Like, watching it partially was enjoyable. But the only time I enjoyed it was... I want to say I could core it down to, like, 4 specific things. And all of them were out of the film by the end. Cruella was... meh. I would say... And the thing is, it's only meh if you look at it like I did, which is, this is not a remake. This is not, like... This is an alternate universe take of Cruella. Like, this is like a what-if kind of story. That's how I looked at it. But if you look at it how they actually pitched it as like a prequel, it's god-awful. It's not a good prequel. It's if they actually think that sets up anything or explains where Cruella came from, they failed. Like, that's not Cruella. That is Estella, but that's not Cruella. That is not the woman that wants to skin 101 Dalmatian puppies, okay? That is not who that is. That is Emma Watson. Playing a role. It's The Devil's Wears Prada. I think that's the name of that film. Just with the skin of Cruella. That's all that is. That was 100% not Cruella de Vil. And honestly, I don't get it. I don't get why they want to make Cruella a protagonist, like a good person. Like, I won't understand that desire Disney has. It's like, I heard it's about like making like female role models, but why not make it? you already own Marvel. You already have so many like badass, female role models you can create stories for. Why are you going into your villain cabinet? Like, I feel like the writers at Disney are like, we have so many cool comic book characters that Disney owns that we could make. Oh, we have so many of these wonderful princesses that we could rewrite and have them be like badasses in alternate take kind of stories. Fuck that! Villain category. Ooh, Cruella, Ursula. Yes, these women are clearly great role models for young ladies out there. Why? I don't know. I don't know the thought process. I don't know if I want to know, like, why they just ignored their entire archive of female characters that they could make stories with. Or here's a crazy idea: write a new character. But instead they ignore all of that and open the villain cabinet. They're like, yes, this woman wants to skin 101 Dalmatian puppies to create a coat. And she beats up her henchmen and drives people off the road. Clearly, role model material. I just want to I want to be a fly on the wall at Disney's offices, just watching these people come up with these terrible ideas. Well, that's how I choose to look at it, Zambyaku and Madao, is that it's an alternate take or an alternate story. The problem is Disney really squashed that with Cruella, because on Disney Plus, where I watched it, they said it was a prequel to the story we know. So what Disney is saying is that the Cruella in Cruella grows to be the Cruella in 101 Dalmatians. Now, if that's where they shot themselves in the foot, is when they said, "Oh, this is totally a prequel. This is the same character." If they had not done that, I would have said it was just a Devil's Wears Prada with Cruella, and it was actually kind of an interesting film. Has a good soundtrack. I mean, I like most of those old 70s songs. It's when a lot of the punk rock was starting to pop up. But they said it's a prequel. So you have to keep in mind that Cruella is, by their admission, the same one that wants to skin 101 Dalmatian puppies. That's the problem. And even then, even if we pretend that's what Disney wanted to do, it doesn't work, because with Disney, the movie itself just doesn't really the movie added to my list of questions about how Cruella becomes Cruella. It didn't really answer anything. And I hear they're coming out with a Cruella 2, which I'm not sure if that's another prequel, like 101, like the timeline's still like 101 Dalmatians over here, Cruella 2, Cruella. Like, I don't know if that's how that's supposed to work, because it feels like I watched the whole movie, like including the end credit scene where she gifts Pongo and I never remember the female dog's name. I don't know why. It's like right there. Should immediately, like, it should be Pongo name, but Pongo and the other one. And they want to make a Cruella 2. And I don't know how it's going to work, because with the end of Cruella, she gifted Pongo, and she also gifted the other puppy to Anita Darling and a Roger. First of all, that already has so many weird implications. Like, she already had a female Dalmatian that was pregnant that had puppies. She gifted the puppies to these two people, one of which she doesn't like. She doesn't like Roger. And I'm still confused by that ending. Like, to me, that was the one part, that was the, other than her inheriting the Dalmatians at all, but her gifting Pongo and the other one to Anita Darling and Roger. Perdita, thank you. Pongo and Perdita. For me, like, I sat up from my desk because I watched on Disney Plus, and I just paced in my room confused. It's like, this is the woman that eventually wants to turn these into a coat. Why did she gift Perdita and Pongo to Roger and Anita? Anita, you could make kind of made sense because Anita was helping her throughout the film. But Roger was the lawyer of the chick of spoilers of her wretched Duchess mom, who killed the woman who raised her. Like, I'm sorry, why did she gift him Pongo? I still don't know why. The movie ends with him getting Pongo and then singing Cruella de Vil, Cruella de Vil. Like, I'm still not sure what the fuck they're gonna do. Like, Cruella 2, I don't know where they're going with it. It's confusing the fuck out of me. We need more indie movies? Yeah. It would be nice to see some new directors and new creatives starting to come up. My biggest fear is when they eventually get to Hollywood, if they're good enough. Hollywood tears them apart, chews them up, spits them out, and then we get horrible people. You don't like the notion that people these days think indie equals good? I don't know anybody who has that notion. Indie doesn't necessarily equal good, but it does equal creative freedom. Indie does translate to, you know, executive manipulation and control being lesser. That's what indie usually translates to. It's like you don't have the overhead that Hollywood does that ruins movies. You know, publishers that demand certain things be shoved into movies just for the sake of it, like the message, like political messages and stuff like that. Like, you don't get that in, like, indie films. Or you don't get it as much. Unless the indie creator chooses to throw it in. And even then, if they choose to throw it in, it's usually not shoehorned in. Like, there's an actual grace mixture of it into the plot that doesn't feel out of nowhere. You can argue if that makes it a good film or a bad film, but inevitably it makes it at least a more interesting film. When the creator has full control over it. Now, indie does not equal good. Indie just equals free. That's all. Not free as in cost, but free. You know what I mean. It translates to freedom from the suits. That goes for video games too. Like, video games, there's a lot of shitty indie games, but that indie game wasn't made with some overhead guy beating the fuck out of the mallet or the gavel, sorry, demanding that microtransactions be thrown in and a lot of other shit be thrown in just for the sake of it. Like, Onion Spice is essentially an indie anime. Actually, it doesn't count as indie. Hold on. I know what you're trying to say, but you're wrong. What defines whether something is an indie or not is essentially who funds it. Like, anything Netflix makes, anything they fund is not indie. Why? Because of the budgets they can provide, and because of their influence. When we look at Crunchyroll, and the people who funded the High Guardian Spice, I think that would be referred to as AA. It's not quite AAA, like full-blown like Hollywood, but it is considered not indie. The reason for that is that they're funded by a higher-up publisher. That's pretty much what defines what an indie creation is. Indie, literally what indie means is it's just a group of people who came together and made this thing. They provided their own budget, they provided their own talent, they provided their own staff. That's indie. The moment you have a publisher, the moment you have someone or something that can call themselves the executive producer or a producer, and they work for a company, it's no longer indie. It's AA or AAA in the case of Netflix. If Netflix or Hulu fund something, that's the same as if a Hollywood bigwig funded something. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of cash. But in the case of Crunchyroll is smaller, so smaller budget, but it's still an overhead publisher that controls the actual creative flow, making it, therefore, not indie. AA, and not quite AAA, because their budget's nowhere near something like a Netflix or Hulu project. But they do have a budget, they did publish it, they do provide a service for which it is watched on. So, by all accounts, it's a AA project. So, High Guardian Spice is not indie. It does not have that excuse. Anybody who calls High Guardian Spice indie doesn't know what indie means. Makes Seth angry. Seth? Hey, Ravenwing. How you doing? Yes, but just because it's the quality of indie, or the quality you expect from indie, doesn't make it indie. Again, quality has nothing to do with how you define it. Believe it or not, there are films that can be considered AAA, or not AAA, that's more of a video game term, that are considered up there, right? That have shitty budgets, shitty acting, shitty everything. There could be a movie produced by Universal that looks like it was made in a garage by 3 people who are also the cast. Doesn't matter whether it looks or is the feel or quality of indie. Indie quality, it defines itself, but what defines indie is not quality. Quality is not the definer for this is AAA, AA, indie. What defines indie is there's no publisher. There's no big wig funding the project. There's no massive cash pool. If there's a cash pool and a publisher, the publisher and how much money they're putting towards it can define whether it's AA or AAA. But indie is defined as, well, homemade, pretty much. Even a B movie is not considered an indie film if it's got a budget, if it's got a publisher. Even if that publisher might have given them $10, it's now no longer considered indie. There are lots of B movies that are indie. There are B movies that are not indie. That's the thing. Indie is defined as, is there a publisher? Is there a source of cash coming from a producer? The answer is yes, it is not an indie film. If it is funded by the creators solely, just coming together and pooling their cash, that's an indie film. Or an indie game. Or an indie board game. Or an indie... I think certain services would be considered indie, wouldn't they? Nah, I think it comes down to the product. Yeah. Kind of indie films, you trust them to be less interesting to you personally? Yep, that's entirely a taste thing. But, you know, I've watched some indie films that blew me away. I've watched some indie films that were hot garbage. With indie, the only thing that is guaranteed is you are not controlled by a publisher. You are not, you don't have the big wig over your head whipping you back into shape if you want to do something they don't want you to do. And they're the source of the money, so what they say goes. Which again, some people would argue makes a film better, is if there's, the publishers overhead they have their idea of what they want the project to be, but gotta keep in mind what their idea of the project is whatever's most profitable. And whatever's most profitable may not necessarily be the most creative, interesting, or engaging. In fact, oftentimes what they like is something tested and proven to get money back. It's like, oh, horror movies, they have jump scares, right? Throw some jump scares in there. We can't do just suspense. We do just suspense. Well, people aren't used to that. They won't come back. And they won't recommend the film. So, formula. Follow the script, ironically. Jesternario. I don't know if I said that correctly. I apologize if I didn't. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. You have to take each independent film on an individual basis. Some folks are artists making films about giant dog poops, while others are really interesting. And yeah, that's a fair way to look at it. For me, I typically go film by film, but certain things I think are fair to categorize, like the MCU, for example, like Marvel superhero films. I think it's fair to kind of categorize them together, and they already categorize them together, but there's something formulaic about like Marvel films and superhero films. Like, you're gonna get the high octane action, you're gonna have the heroes win usually at the end. You're not expecting something like The Watchmen, where, something really crazy happens with, like, Rorschach and then the Atom. And, like there's a formula with certain film types nowadays that you can definitely, I think it's fair to prejudge a film on. Like, the next Marvel superhero film that comes out, I know it's not going to be formula-wise, any different than the last 13 superhero Marvel films I've watched, because the studio knows there's a recipe that works, and as long as we repeat recipe with slight changes and maybe a change in the overall plot, people will come. It's a Marvel film. For me, not enough to come back. Like, me personally, I'm well and truly done with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Endgame was fine with me. I called it there. I'm not interested in seeing where it's going next. I know that people are really excited for the next wave of Marvel. For me, none of it looks interesting. Like the Eternals, none of that interested me. Not the actors, actresses, and certainly not the plot. And when I heard that they were essentially gods that have been around this entire time, where that begs the question, why didn't they intervene during Voltron? Why didn't they intervene during the Civil War? Why didn't they intervene during anything to do with Thanos? Like, that's the problem with them introducing new heroes now, is we already went through this big thing, and now that's going to constantly be a question I have, is, where the fuck were you? I don't know. For me, I'm well and truly done with the Marvel films. I've seen the formula enough that that's all I see when the new Marvel films come out. It's like, point A, point B, point C. Yeah, there we go. There's the end credits. Oh, end credit scene. There we go. I don't want to be a pessimist. Like, if people are enjoying the new Marvel films, by all means, all the power to you. But I get no enjoyment because, again, I see the formula. It's kind of like one of those things where, like, when you look behind the curtain and you now understand how something works, you're less fascinated by it because you know how it works. That's me and Marvel at this point. DC films, live action wise, have usually sucked since The Dark Knight, so can't even really enjoy those. Have I listened to any new music recently? Not really. I listened to a little bit of Tom McDonald. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a rapper on YouTube. He's very political, so I wouldn't recommend watching if for the politics. I listened to a little bit of him for some recommendations, but past that, no. Really haven't listened to anything new. I usually just go to my fallback bands and songs. Disturbed, Five Finger Death Punch, a lot of big heavy metal bands. Bad Wolf, power metal bands. Independent creators, recommend Dan Vask. He's a very talented singer. And his Toss a Coin to Your Witcher song, his cover of it, mwah, beautiful. Yeah, I recommend everybody go check that one out. The man broke his vocals to do that. Actually, I don't know if he did actually, but he does have these like really high-pitched points where I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? I can't sing it worth a damn. So, excuse me. Yeah. With indie films, though, yeah, taking them film by film is entirely fair because that's the upside. There's no publisher, there's no universe, there's no indie cinematic universe of films. That's some indie films are good, some are bad. There's no formula with them. I guess is a good thing. Phase 4 is really bad. Hey, they did another Green Lantern? Superhero movies is an end to an era like noirs and westerns. I mean, like with every genre, Hollywood, like with every successful genre of entertainment, it's not. This goes for video games as well. Like look at what happened to our RTSs. RTSs were the type of game to make back in the day, right? And then watch how recently the most we've got, RTSs aren't dead, but they virtually are in terms of like video games. Same with Hollywood, like. That's the downside with like the entertainment, like big wigs, like the if you look at video games with like Valve or Activision, Blizzard, you look at companies like that, they beat the horse to death. Hollywood does the exact same thing, and they just do it for films. Like with Hollywood, when westerns were like everyone's favorite thing, westerns were done like every film. Till they did it to death and people were sick and tired of westerns. Then they moved on to the next thing. Oh, comedies are now, like romantic comedies are now the thing. Alright, we're going to continue making those. And then they make them to death. That's the downside with Hollywood and video game corporations. They beat the genres to death. Like, they beat it to that horse is just, can't even whinny again. Like... And then they'll occasionally bring back that horse from the dead after they've killed it long ago. Like, we still get the rare, like, look, we get the rare occasional film that's either a callback to a Western or is a Western. Like, look at Logan, which is a superhero film. That was more of a Western than it was a superhero film. I think most people would agree. Gimme Tokyo, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Are you doing well, dude? Wish you a speedy recovery. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I am more or less recovered. Just wanting my taste buds back, and my sense of smell, and my appetite. Once I get those back, I'll be in full swing, but unfortunately, that's what I'm waiting on. But that doesn't stop me from streaming, so hopefully I'll be back to streaming at a semi-normal schedule tomorrow. Tomorrow's my goal, but I don't know if I'll be able to stick to it. We'll see how I feel tomorrow. The downside with losing all the weight I did so rapidly and all the unpleasantness of COVID is I'm very lethargic. I don't have a lot of energy, but hopefully we'll beat that back given the next couple days. and I'll have enough energy to do at least a couple hour streams, 3-4 hour streams, just chilling. Still trying to catch up on FF content. But yeah, Hollywood, it's something weird Hollywood's always done. They have a genre that's successful, and then they only make films for that genre because it's a proven success. It's proven to get the dollar bills, y'all, at the box office, and then that's it. And then when people get so saturated with that one genre, it's like, oh, another superhero film? Only the 13th this year alone. People get so sick and tired of it, they stop going to the theater, they stop ordering tickets, they stop wanting to go watch. And then Hollywood realizes that they've killed it. And do they learn their lesson? Do they start diversifying the types of films they come out with year to year? Nope, they wait till the next big successful genre, and then they start repeating that again. And they do it again, and again, and again. And they're going to keep doing it until we run out of genres. Weirdly enough, in my opinion, this might be an unpopular opinion, the one genre they didn't do that to is the fantasy genre. I don't know, I could be entirely off base on this, but the one genre I could think of that Hollywood did not do to death was fantasy. I don't know, because think about it for a second. Lord of the Rings is like the fantasy, right? And when in the early 2000s when fantasy came out, now I know a lot of the 80s. I know the 80s and the 90s had some fantasy films as well, but they weren't done to death in either the 80s or the 90s. Because in the 80s, like futuristic sci-fi, cyberpunk, or horror was a big thing in the 80s, but not fantasy. Fantasy had a couple films in the 80s, but never done to death. 90s, fantasy, some films, but not very many. And oftentimes they were fantasy that kind of melded into the modern day there in the 90s. And then we had the early 2000s with Lord of the Rings, which was actually pure fantasy. And then after Lord of the Rings, you would think that Hollywood would do what it usually does, which is it does a genre to death once it's proven successful. Lord of the Rings was a massive success. It won award after award after award, not to mention box office money. Lord of the Rings raked it in, but yet Hollywood didn't flood the market year after year with fantasy films. So that's one thing that I think is a weird exception to the rule, is fantasy is the one genre I don't think Hollywood has seen it be successful, and then beat it to death until they couldn't do anything else with it. I don't know why. I'm not complaining. I'm happy they didn't. But when I think about it, that's like the one exception to the rule. But when I think of other genres, they've always beaten it to death. Like 80s and 90s, and still now, they beat the horror genre to death. I remember when slasher villains had like action figures and shit. Like they beat that horse to death for sure. And that's why we have so many horror icons. They did it with buddy cop films. They beat it to death. There was a ton of buddy cop style films in the 90s. They did it with sci-fi. They've done it with literally every other genre other than fantasy. I can think of many examples of Hollywood beating that to death. But fantasy is a weird exception to the rule. I don't know why. And again, I don't know if I want to know why. Because if I know why, I might unfortunately explain it and still fit it into the rules somehow. I don't know. Ooh. At least most of it. Yeah, probably. And they did find a way to mainstream horror a little bit. I mean, when we look at Friday the 13th, when we look at Nightmare on Elm Street, those are, you can't tell me those weren't mainstream horror films. Like, name one person out there, obviously, who's not like kids, little kids, and really old folks, but people who would have grown up with like reruns or like DVDs or VHSs on the side of like old horror films. Tell me one person who hasn't watched at least one Friday the 13th. Name me one person who hasn't watched at least one Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I know plenty of people who have never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre or haven't seen House of a Thousand Corpses, you know, films like that, or even Halloween. But I know very few people who haven't seen the classics of like horror slasher villains. Find them infuriating to watch? And not always. That is a trope of a lot of horror, is dumb protagonists. Or at the very least, dumb until the third act requires them not to be. In the case of horror films, the reason that a lot of those are successful is not because of the protagonists. Fun fact, the protagonists come in and they come and go in horror. Horror is that weird genre where it's not the good guy that's the star. It's your Freddy's. It's your Jason. Like, if I asked you guys right now to look for like an old action figure or doll of Laurie Strode from who is amazingly played, don't get me wrong, and is a recognizable character in the Halloween franchise. But if I asked you to look for an action figure or a figure of her versus Michael Myers, you'd struggle to find one, wouldn't you? Not that they didn't make any, they just made very few, because she wasn't really the star. It was Michael Myers. If we talk about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, I hazard you to find a single figure, action figure, doll of any of the main protagonists, then find the Freddy glove. Find a Freddy action figure. Find Freddy outfit and shirt. Go to any Halloween store during, well, Halloween, and you'll find more costumes of these characters. You'll never find costumes of their victims. You'll never find people like writing up comic books about, oh, Laurie Strode fighting a good fight in the bed. No, it's Michael Myers. It's Michael Myers. The only time a horror protagonist stands out is when we're talking about someone like Ash from Evil Dead. And that's because the man fucking has a chainsaw arm and fights back against the evil demonic monsters. That's the only time we recognize the protagonist, and even then, they have to do something really weird to stand out and be an iconic character. Like, the protagonists have an uphill battle to be recognizable and memorable in a horror film. The bad guy, easy money. That's why that's the whole thing with the horror genre. The horror genre is not about the protagonists. Yeah, they're who we sympathize with and want to survive because they represent us in this scenario, but they're not the star. The star is the slasher villain. It's the murderer. It's the bad guy. Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers. Any of the fucked up family in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. These are the characters we remember because they're the star of the show. They're the ones who are going to be in the sequel. They're the ones everybody wants to do versus matches with. Horror film victim. And yeah, like, it's seldom the protagonist. That's why horror films work the way that they do. They're kind of like, horror films have always kind of worked the opposite of normal storytelling. Where in Star Wars, which is a traditional storytelling, we remember Luke Skywalker, we remember Han Solo, we remember Leia. because that way the story works, the way it unfolds, the way they identify themselves as unique characters with unique motivations and unique behaviors, the way they're established, and we know they're going to be in the sequel. But in horror, usually there's only one survivor, and it's horror cliche for them to die in the next film. So there's a whole new cast of victims. Because the thing is, if you keep someone consistently story to story to story, well, hey Siege, yeah, we're talking horror. But with horror, the idea that a survivor from this previous story can come back and interfere with a villain, that's going to take away some of the horror, because the previous victim now knows what the bad guy is going to do. If they know what the bad guy can do, they can tell the new victims, and that takes away some of the horror because now they're prepared. But if you kill off the previous victim from the original film, you can have a whole new cast of victims, and the horror villain gets to repeat their process without the new cast already knowing how to face them. So horror kind of benefits from having a new set of protagonists every film, whereas in every other form of storytelling, you can have repeat protagonists because the threat isn't repeated. But with horror, the threat is repeated, so you need a whole new cast of victims. And that's why Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, and Freddy Krueger are remembered. Laurie Strode is remembered because she did come back, and weirdly enough, that kind of takes away from the horror in the recent films. Not by much, though. Hey, Yippers. Yeah, I'm feeling much better. Not 100% yet, but I'm way better than I have been. C-3PO, R2-D2. Yeah. You heard about the new Resident Evil movie? Yes. It's unless there's another one that came out while I was sick, but I am aware of the new one. New one I heard is garbage, which is saying something because Uwe Boll's was it Uwe Boll? I don't know who. No, wait, no. It was a different director that did the other Resident Evil films, I think. I don't know. The other dude. I know that a lot of the other Resident Evil films are absolute hot garbage, but I heard this newest one is even more garbage, which is kind of scary to think about. Hey, Odos, back. Did you miss much? Not really, just chatting. Paul, yes, thank you. Anderson, that's what I'm thinking of. Uwe Boll did a lot of the other video game tie-in films. Oh, how difficult it is to set up a Blue Yeti mic? It's not. You got the cord, you plug it in. You're done. If it doesn't work after that, it's broken. You gotta get a new one. Oh, also make sure that red light is solid. If it's blinking, it means you're muted. That's it. And yeah, there's these toggles on the back, but you can look up how to set them, and once you've set them, that's it. You leave them. Unless you're doing something fancy with it. And the first and the second were okay-ish. The third started to become bonkers. The Resident Evil ones, yeah. I've only seen the two. I want to say two of them. The first Resident Evil film, and not the one that came after. I think it was like a third or fourth sequel. It was totally bad shit. I hear a lot of people like those films just cause they're kind of stupid, but I don't know, like, if you're a fan of the video games, you probably aren't gonna enjoy the storyline in the movies. They're not very faithful. Final chapter was a mess. Did you have to mess with the settings to avoid keyboard sounds? No. And all you do for that is you just mess with the gain. That's about it. If you're getting too much of the keyboard, you gotta turn down the gain. If you're if you're this close and you sound like you're a mile away, you gotta turn up the gain. That's it. And on the other toggle, just toggle the one that looks like a heart. Like a really fat heart. Because what you're telling it is to only pick up this. If you if you toggle it to the circle, it's going to try and pick up noise all the way around, etc., etc. Each one has a visual of the audio it picks up. So make sure you toggle that to the heart. And the gain is pretty straightforward. And even then, you can get a keyboard like mine, which doesn't make a lot of noise when you type. Like, it makes some noise. I'm sure you guys can hear part of it. If not, even go a whole swath of it. But it's a lot quieter than most keyboards. So, if you have like my spare keyboard, which is really loud, which just sounds like it's clicking, you're gonna fuck with the gain a lot in that case. Video game movies need a lot of work. I think they should just stop making them. Hollywood clearly doesn't respect them in any way, shape, or form. It's kind of sad when the porn parodies are getting more accurate. They're kind of supposed to be a little horror. I mean, they're supposed to be, that's for sure. But the films, I think at some point they just kind of turned into action. But Resident Evil is always supposed to be a horror franchise. And the first film definitely wanted to be part horror at the very least, but didn't succeed. The whole franchise kind of turned into Anderson, I believe his wife. His wife or his girlfriend, I don't know which. Maybe it was started out as girlfriend and became wife, but she plays the chick Alice, I think his name is, in the video game movies, and the whole thing is just about her being like the chosen one badass, which I hear the action's somewhat decent, so maybe she was the right role. But as far as I understand it, he cast her as like the big one, and he did everything in his power to make her like the most overpowered badass in the franchise. But again, this is coming from a guy who's getting most of that secondhand. I only watched the first Resident Evil and one of the middle ones. Wife now, okay. Were they husband and wife during the films? Or girlfriend, boyfriend and girlfriend? And I don't know. I know that a big portion of why she was cast was that, and also, does he just want to make her badass? I mean, that can work. Again, I don't... Well, the first movie wasn't bad. Well, wasn't good either. I think the first Resident Evil, like, movie was the only one that tried to be like a Resident Evil film, and then after that it went downhill. And after that, Anderson stopped giving a shit. And to be fair, like, again, Hollywood don't respect video games. They still don't. Even though they know how much money they make, if you're a Hollywood writer, oftentimes they don't want anything to do with video games. I don't know why. I'm not in Hollywood. I don't know the motivations. I just know that Hollywood very clearly do not like video games. Yeah, right. Yeah. Pretty wild and stupid ride. And that's the most I know about him. I watched the first one, thought it was decent, and then I watched the middle one, it was garbage. Apparently it's a very sharp cliff. Am I gonna stay up all night for Endwalker Launch? I'm gonna get up in the middle of the night and join the queue. But I'll join VC for those who want to be in there. Yeah. Ooh. Man. Feels weird to stream after so long. I'm still excited for Endwalker. It feels weird we're on the week of Endwalker's launch. Yep. So probably what I'm gonna end up doing is on Thursday night I'm gonna have everything. I'm gonna like get into queue late Thursday night. Let me double check like the actual proper times. I don't know if they have it down to the hour yet. 1 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is December 2nd. I'm probably gonna join the queue. I'll say midnight. I'll probably join the queue earlier than that. I'll join the queue. I'll probably watch a couple movies, maybe just a movie, and then jump into VC while I wait for the lunch. And hopefully get in early enough in the queue to actually make a difference and actually log in. Yeah, but it's 4 a.m. for me, so I'll be in queue for a minimum of 5 hours. That's assuming I don't know when they're gonna like start the Endwalker queue. I might get lucky and log in before the queue starts and just stay in the game, but they might force eject everybody out to give an equal opportunity chance to log in for Endwalker. Whatever the case is, December 2nd, really late at night, I'm gonna join the queue. Hopefully get in at a reasonable hour. And I'll have my streaming set up and everything ready to go for the launch. You know, I'll be in this view waiting patiently. I'm super excited too. I'm excited. Yeah. The servers probably won't be up until like 15 minutes before. Nah, not 15 minutes. Hell no. They ain't doing that. 15 minutes, and unless Square Enix does it differently than Blizzard did it. What I'm used to is what they're going to do is they're going to eject everybody out. They're going to do last minute maintenance probably 2 hours before launch. They're not going to do it 15 minutes before. That's insane. If they did maintenance 15 minutes before, that's 15 minutes no one can be in queue to try and get in the game. And that is not going to go over well. So I highly doubt that. Again, this Square Enix might do it like that. And they might do like literally last minute maintenance and force everybody out of the game. But if they do like literally last minute, that goes over terribly. At least with the Blizzard audiences. So the new Blizzard players who are caught up and are excited for Endwalker are going to flip. But, can I unban you from the Discord? No. But I don't see that. Maybe doing a maintenance 2-3 hours beforehand. I can see that. But 15 minutes, leaving that tiny period for everyone to try and jump in at once, they're asking for a DDoS. And not even an attack, just a normal DDoS. Because everybody's going to try and jump in that once that window closes. And I don't see Square Enix doing it. I don't see any company doing that. That's just stupid. You're asking for things to go wrong. You're asking for a DDoS. And again, not even an intentional one. Not even like someone doing a DDoS attack. You're just asking for the server to get attacked all at once by everybody trying to fit in right after that window. So. Maintenance will end 15 minutes before. That's still bad. that's a small window for millions of players to try and log in at once across multiple data centers. I see that causing a DDoS. I don't know, if I were them, I would be very careful with that. I can't time gate it once people are already logged in. Correct. Again, doing a maintenance that close to the line, though, again, that's asking for a DDoS. Because the moment that maintenance ends, everybody will be logging in, like at once. You want there to be a queue started, so the servers have time to adjust. To just have a maintenance where nobody can log in, so everybody's waiting there. You know, they got their button on the login button. They're waiting, and then that 15, and then they have 15-minute period window to try and log in for that early access launch. Everybody fucking logging in. Everybody just clickety. Just clickety. Everybody logging in. Just clickety. Everybody all at once and DDoS. Not even an attack, just normal DDoS. That's a capacity nightmare. That's what happens every patch. And if I were them, I would schedule the maintenance and then leave them an hour even. An hour is way better to let people try and log in for the expansion. That way the queue can actually build up naturally. A 15-minute window? That's asking for a nightmare. Well, that's asking for a DDoS. Because keep in mind, during maintenance, they throw everybody out. So, there's no one already in the game. So everybody's trying to get in the game at the same time. Nightmare. But, yeah, if that's what they're doing, that's going to be interesting. But I'm still going to log in as soon as it's available. So I'm going to contribute to the DDoS. At least I can say I did that. I'll have a shirt ready. Share the loot, one of the hobbits. That would be Samwise Gamgee. That's the quote. You gonna wait till the next day? Probably wise. I'm gonna be logging in the day of. The moment of, if I can. Well, the thing is, they can program it to do that, actually. And you'll notice at the Gold Saucer how you can only access certain quests every 15-minute interval. Well, they can do the same thing. Like, they can program the initial quest, Renwalker, to like any of the 15-minute fates, the gates at the Golden Saucer. They can program the quest to just be active at some point. So they actually can do that. It's just, it doesn't have that same feel. Like when an expansion drops, you want there to be a bit of a, excitement. You want the build up. So they do it manually. Most companies do that. But to say they can't program the quest to just go live, they absolutely can. How do you think quests work now? They're programmed to activate after you finish another one. That's how quests work. So, they can just program the quest to just go live. Now, if the maintenance is more to clean everything up beforehand, then that's another thing, but... By no means can they not do that. That's actually quite doable. Hey, Carthacorn, how you doing? Light died. Oh, you lose power? You're going to pick up Reaper, Sage, then go start gathering materials for your wifey in the game so she can craft you pretty pants. Nice. I'm just going to immediately grab Reaper and level it. And then play the MSQ. To a very small live stream audience, if at all a live stream audience. And the VODs are going to do way better than the streams. Ah. Whole block went dark for a couple minutes. Ah. Might be a transformer. Might have blown. Your wife is one of those crazy Omnicraft people. Ah, okay. Like they maxed out crafting. I still gotta do that. I haven't played FF in like 13 days. 13, 14 days. Which feels weird. Probably won't play it today or tomorrow. Well, if I'm streaming tomorrow, I'll probably play it tomorrow. Got a lot I gotta catch up on. But definitely not today. Now, well, this has been a 2-hour Q&A, more like just a chat, hangout stream, which was nice. It was nice to hang out and catch up with you guys and update you guys with my COVID stuff. I'm planning on being back to streaming and stuff tomorrow. It's not gonna be like I immediately just am back. I'm back in black. I'm not gonna be back at full throttle, same way I am now. Or was, sorry. Gotta build back into it, so I'm gonna stream tomorrow. I don't know we'll see how many hours. I'm probably gonna drink some G Fuel that I won't be able to taste, and hopefully keep my energy up. So I'll be back to streaming tomorrow, and yeah, hopefully hopefully especially by the time Endwalker drops, I'll be more or less completely back to my normal self. With a lot less lethargic lack of energy, and finally be able to enjoy some recipes in this goddamn book. I really want to make that pizza so badly. Oh, the royal eggs. I don't know. Every time I scroll through this, I'm like, oh my god, I would love to make that. Oh my god, I would love to make that. Oh my god, I would love to make that. Every time I look at the appetizers and the entrees, it's. Come on, look at that. That looks delicious. Look at that. Farmer's breakfast. That looks so... It's got kielbasa. Kielbasa. You got potatoes. You got spices. I even have a cast iron skillet like that. Too bad I can't fucking taste anything. You got the dodo omelet. Come on, that shit looks good. It's an omelet with some rice cooked into it. Oh. I torture myself as I look through this. I'm like, all the foods I can't taste. Oh, it just looks so good. Oh man, I just want my taste buds, man. Just give me my taste buds. Just want them, man. Come on. Ah, damn you, COVID. Damn you, damn you, damn you. My sense of smell isn't completely back, and I want my damn taste buds. Cookbook came to cheer me up, but also came to torture me. It's 2 in 1. Oh, all the foods look so good. Anyway, pizza on the brain. Yes, of course I have pizza on the brain. I have food on the brain. Food I want to be able to taste and enjoy, but I cannot because I can't taste anything. It sounds like it tastes delicious. Anyway, we'll end the stream here. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for checking in, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to check in with you guys. Again, hopefully you're gonna stream tomorrow. We're gonna stream tomorrow, and we'll probably be FF. I can't think of anything else I'd stream right now. We're gonna stream some FF and try and catch up on everything I can before Endwalker drops. Oh, I'll have to taste the worst. It is the worst. It's just the worst, because especially when you ordered a damn cookbook, it arrives, but it arrives while you can't taste anything. So you're like, I can't even make this shit. That's like the worst. It's like extra torture. But yeah, I love you guys. Thank you guys for checking in. Truly, I do appreciate it. And again, next time we do a Q&A, hopefully it'll have a little bit more stuff going on that isn't just a black screen and the chat and my new chat box. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, and hope you guys have an amazing afternoon. I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of the afternoon. Probably get some more food because I have to eat something for dinner. And slowly contemplate things as I slip into madness. Anyway, have a good night, guys. Bye-bye.